Welcome to Prison Professors. I am Michael Santos, and I've got to say, I've had a lot of really influential guests and people who have made an enormous impression upon me over the years, and it's always such a gift for me to be able to share this with people in prison. These are the kind of people that would have influenced me while I was going through my own journey inside. They would have inspired the books that I read, the people I associated with, and they would have given me hope. Well, today, on one of our master classes, we get the privilege of listening and learning from my friend, Saqr Ereiqat. Now, did I say that name correctly?
I was 21 until I started getting used to people saying my name correctly, being born and raised in Germany. So it's an Arabic word. It means falcon. Depending on who you ask in the Arabic world, he's going to give you a different response. So the Gulf Arab, they say Saqr. We say Saqr. The Egyptians say Sa. So, you're okay. Saqr, Saqr, Saqir, whatever works.
Well, I'll just want to tell our audience that when I got to meet Saqr, I was in the country of the United Arab Emirates in the city of Abu Dhabi. And it's just an amazing city. But the way he came with if you ever heard that song, Smooth Operator, it's what I had in mind when I met him, because he was just so incredibly gracious in welcoming me into this community. And we spoke for about 45 minutes, an hour. But I just would like him to share a little bit about his memory of that evening.
It's funny that you say that. I appeared to you as the smooth operator because I approached you because you looked like that smooth operator standing there. So it's nice to hear that it's straight. And it was a dinner in someone's house, and as there are in dinners, there's different factions that are forming and people having conversation. And there's this wonderful, handsome young man with a big smile on his face and a blue jacket, if I'm not mistaken, a light blue jacket, if memory serves correctly. And you are just beaming. You are beaming positive energy. And I didn't know who you are, but I wanted to know who you are just from the way you were and you were all by yourself. You weren't talking to anyone at the time. And I really enjoyed the conversation as soon as we said hello.
Well, what was when we started speaking and he asked me about my story, where I was from, I told him I was from a very different background from him and everybody else in the audience, because I was in the midst of the community of really, I would call them the crypto OG world, people who have been involved and influential and ambassadors of the Bitcoin movement, and they welcomed me and taught me, and from them I have learned so much, and it's a lot of what I've learned, what I'm using to influence the content that I'm creating right now. And it would be very helpful, I think, Saqr, if you would help our audience, understand your background, both before crypto and how you got, I guess, as we call it now, orange peeled.
Right. Well, I think the best way to introduce this in one sentence is I'm completely self-taught on this. If you're sitting here wondering, hey, how did this guy end up where he is? I want to tell you my journey started in self-education before anything else, right? So I did study business and IT. So I'm a Palestinian, but I'm born and raised in Germany. My first Arabic country to live in was Dubai. And I moved there in 2008 when I joined IBM as a consultant. And as a consultant to IBM, essentially what our work was to engage with these entities, private, public sector entities, to help them how to use technology to their advantage. I've essentially helped them use technology to be more efficient, to provide a happier experience, to make people more confident in the system that they live in. And I spent 14, 15 years advising governments all around the world. I worked in 23 countries. I lived in 9 of them. And then 2014, 15, I really stumbled with more luck than anything else on this word blockchain. That, by the way, and if this is the first time you hear blockchain or crypto, it confused me heavily. And that's what I found so exciting, because I consider myself someone that can get base concepts, but with blockchain, with crypto, I just didn't get it. It sounded too simple to be revolutionary, but also had revolutionary traits to be, brushed away and say, oh, let's just proceed with the next technology. The rest is pretty much history. 2014, 15, we ended up writing a strategy to the Dubai government. It became the first blockchain strategy in the world. And I think since then, pretty much, I wrote my name in blood and next to blockchain and crypto because I really believe in this generational opportunity that we're in. I really believe that similarly to how the internet impacted every facet of our world, blockchain will impact every single facet of our world and usher in that internet of transactions rather than our internet of information that we're used to today.
You know, one of the areas that I encourage people to pursue, as you described, you were self-taught and you learned everything by yourself. I felt that the same need to try and learn, and one of the areas that I learned from was the Satoshi white paper. Did you read that at that beginning stage, or was it much later that you turned to that initial document that brought blockchain and cryptocurrencies into our world?
So very early on, you wouldn't find a lot of stuff to read other than the likes of the white papers of projects that were out there. 2014, 15 was a very, I mean, I know it's just 10 years ago, but it seemed to be a very, very different world at the time. So the first thing we picked up was and this Satoshi white paper, as revolutionary as it is, as amazing as it is, as confusing as it is as well. So I don't think anyone with a non-technical background should be, I mean, I think everyone in this space should start with at least having seen it. It's not a long read, but also the revolutionary concepts in there. You really have to be a computing-minded person to start tapping into to the wider meaning of it. Today, Princeton University, Harvard University, MIT, the World Economic Forum all have education material that is free and out there for anyone to consume, right? So I wouldn't recommend starting with the white paper. It's definitely something that one should have seen because really everything that we're doing here starts incepted in that white paper.
I love that you suggested we look at other sources, but one message I will share with you and with our audience of how the white paper kind of inspired me, and Saqr just gave us, I think, validation of what I just said, is that he said he got involved in 2014, 2015, but the white paper came out, I think it was in 2008. And when it came out in 2008, it didn't get widely spread. I mean, it took several years. Several years later, people were still just becoming aware of it. Why was that? It was because the author of the white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto, whether it's a group or an individual, reached out primarily to data scientists and mathematicians and scientists that might be able to comprehend it before it started getting a mass adoption. But it's now been 15 years, and we still only have, what would you say, 5% of the population, 7% of the population who's really getting involved?
I think the real number is much lower. And, you're wearing a Binance t-shirt and they're coming out with huge numbers. I think the last number was 250 million or 200 million people. And there's numbers out there that point towards wallet creation. I'm a bit skeptical because it still feels that every second conversation I have, it's crypto what? Or, oh, crypto is a scam. Or, oh, this is for money laundering purposes. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, adoption is 10 times better, 100 times better. I mean, I wouldn't even think the numbers to it. It's much better than what it was before. But I also think it's if you're listening to this and you're hearing about this for the first time, you're still early. I think we're still in an early majority. And that's really the opportunity that we're at this beginning of this hockey stick moment that slowly but surely it's starting to define itself. But it's starting right now. It's you're not late to the party.
Well, to give some more evidence that while I was getting excited to present Saqr to our audience, I did a lot of research and watching many of his videos because he's not only a true believer but a real ambassador of the message, and he's been doing this for a long time. In fact, some of the videos that I were watching, you were referencing on the stage in Dubai that there were about 200 people in the audience. You were speaking to relatively small audiences. And just recently, I know that you were speaking in Abu Dhabi at a conference there. And I got to imagine there were a lot more than 200 people at that conference.
Yes. I remember the first time I joined a meetup for blockchain and crypto, it was literally 7 or 8 people in the room, 7 or 8 people. And today, um, conferences with thousands of people attending are being sold out, and there's one after the next, after the next. So here in the UAE, it really, it really took on the mantle of leading this for the world, for the region. They came out with some of the best and earliest regulation in this. They came out with the first regulatory authority for this in 2018, as early as 2018. Jurisdictions over here already provided guidance papers for exchanges and the like to be regulated, and in the UAE, it's on everyone's mind. Having said that, I think globally, still the world is lagging behind.
And you speak about the UAE and Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and that in that region of the world, it is much more accepted than here in the United States. And when I was at the conference there were people from all over the world. And, I think it's looked upon as the center of the universe when it comes to blockchain and crypto. And you've spoken about the leadership there in the country of the United Arab Emirates of welcoming people to come who want to build a business. And as somebody who is contemplating, and now I'm coming to I guess you'd call it the winter season of my career, where I'm looking and say, where would I like to go? I can say I never have been in a more beautiful, clean, safe community than what I experienced in Dubai. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about the government and its willingness to accept foreigners and actually encouraging people who are capable of contributing to the world based on their enthusiasm to live law-abiding, contributing lives. Could you talk a little about that invitation that people?
Yeah, with pleasure, because I think this is something that's the unique selling point of the UAE. I think, so let's put this in one sentence. The UAE isn't a country in the world, it's the world in a country. And, this isn't just something that sounds cool, but if you look around, there's hardly 1 million local residents, right? So there's somewhere around, depending on consensus data, 11 to 13 million people living in the UAE. Only 1 million of them are residents and nationals of the UAE, right? Everyone else is a visitor and is moving here. Like me, for example, I was living in Germany. I have no relation to the UAE, but what made the UAE so exciting was, the laws and regulation, the safety and security, the lifestyle, the ease of doing business, and the UAE has really put that on its main crest and started pushing this to the rest of the world. A big contributing factor, I believe, and I'm a big fan, is His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, who's a visionary leader. He's the ruler of Dubai, he's the Prime Minister of the UAE, and in many ways, someone that you can attribute a lot of this change to. Of course, we couldn't forget about all of the other leaders of the different emirates, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. But His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid really took governance and the way you govern a city to a completely different level. Let's make this specific. So His Highness is attributed in many ways with all of the things that you know about Dubai, all of the amazing things, the Burj Al Arab, the Burj Khalifa, all of these amazing achievements that Dubai has, in many ways can be attributed individually to His Highness. And there's a friend of mine who wrote a book, it's called The Sheikh CEO, which essentially analyzes how His Highness deals with Dubai, not as a city or state, but as a business that he's operating. And that's a very big shift in mind when you're governing and when you're a government, because government is always supposed to serve and not necessarily supposed to be efficient or revenue generating. His Highness managed a system, or is managing a system, he's actively doing it, where the UAE government, the Dubai government specifically, she's the ruler of Dubai. And obviously, because we've now made a couple of times references, the United Arab Emirates is 7 emirates, not different than the United States of America, right? It's 7 emirates. Each one of them have their own jurisdiction, have their own leadership, but there's a federal leadership which is led by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who's the son of the founding father. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid is essentially the ruler of Dubai and is referred to as the Sheikh CEO. So he was able to establish a culture where everyone is focusing on the details very early on. A culture where innovation is at the forefront. And again, innovation is one of those, overused words. Everything is innovative and nothing is innovative at the same time, right? But innovation, since I think as early as 2009, 10, have been an annual KPI to the government. How innovative are you? Most recently, they've added a happiness agenda, believe it or not. And I thought, I was so taken by this, thinking that it was just another marketing gimmick. And I went back to UC Berkeley and I did a degree in corporate happiness to understand what they actually mean by a happiness agenda. Turns out when you are a happier people, you are a more effective people, you are more law-abiding people, you are more efficient people, you are a better member of the economy. So the Dubai government prides itself in giving you the happiest experience when dealing with the government. Not going too far back into the past, only a couple of months ago, His Highness on his Twitter account, and he's an avid Twitter user, said, "We heard a lot of good feedback from this department, and I commend commend the leader of this department because we hear that he's serving his people, and we are government servants, so anyone who's in service should be proud of that." And then he said, on the other side, I have heard from leaders of departments that they have a lot of secretary and security people in front of their door and closing their doors off to their people. And he ended up retiring the people that he heard were doing this and promoting the people who are out and open working with the public. So I think this culture of innovation, of excellence, really is driven from the top down. And this isn't something that I need to say. This is something that honestly, looking around how amazing this place is, having traveled the world, I analyzed and came to the conclusion, there's such a big X factor that we have here in the UAE, which is His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid.
When I was there, I remember I went to the top of the Burj Khalifa and just so that I could take a view of the entire city and what they'd built there in Dubai, and I tried to help people use that as a prop or a resource to help people see this all began just as desert. And I would imagine when you first went there, it was just sand, and it was somebody that had the incredible vision to see what didn't exist, but then to communicate to millions of people so that they could raise the resources, bring the talented people, the most talented engineers in the world to Dubai, the hardest workers to build this amazing city. And now they're building this city of the future where I think liberates people who may not have access to finance, who may not have access to business or to banking through their enormous investment in blockchain. And that's something I'd like you to speak a little bit about now, is the evolution of where we've come to Web 3.0. So if you could help our audience who doesn't have access to very much information to the differences between Web 1.0, Web 2.0, Web 3.0, and what you see in the future.
Sure, with pleasure. And maybe just an anecdotal story on His Highness before we go there. And this is on YouTube, so everyone can go and Google World Economic Forum, Mohammed bin Rashid. He was invited to the World Economic Forum to speak. And if I'm not mistaken, it was maybe his first or second appearance at the World Economic Forum. And they asked him about, what makes Dubai so incredible. And this was much earlier than, where we are today, because Dubai today is widely developed. Already in 2008, when I moved here, Burj Al Arab was standing, which is the first 7-star hotel in the world. Slowly but surely, the brand was forming. But you're quite right. Entire patches. So the downtown area where Burj Khalifa was didn't exist at the time. It was a big sand pit and was just a construction zone. So they asked His Highness at the World Economic Forum, they told him, so what's the secret of Dubai? And he went into storytelling because he's a Bedouin. And, as Bedouin, I'm a Bedouin. We like to tell stories. So he leaped to the audience and he said, every morning in Africa, there's a gazelle waking up with only one thing on its mind, which is, how do I outrun the fastest lion? And every morning in Africa, there's a lion waking up just to put one thing: how do I outrun that gazelle so I can feed my flock? And then he jokingly turned to the camera and he said, in Dubai, I don't care if you're a gazelle or you're a lion, you better wake up and run in the morning, right? And that really shows you, and I'm sure you felt it while you were here, the city is a buzz. There's a buzz to the city. And, I wasn't there for it, but, also an answer to your actual question, where were we and where are we now in the world? What I'm hearing from people that were there in the 90s and in the 2000s at the dot-com boom and, the entire PC revolution, is that there was a similar buzz in Silicon Valley as there is today in Dubai. So I'm not old enough to know. I wasn't exposed to that world. But I've heard this now independently from multiple different people. And what the UAE has done, really again from the government downwards, is to put technology at the center. And when we talk about Web3 as a technology, I want to reiterate, I believe this is a transformational technology that will change the world in the same way that the internet has changed the world, the same way that mobile phones have changed the world. This is going to change the world at every single facet, similar to how AI is changing the world actively as we speak. Why do I believe that? I believe that because it's the next evolution of the technology that we already know. So computing started with input-output devices. Essentially, you were then able to provide the World Wide Web to the people. And this was just information static on the internet. That's what we call Web 1, right? Web 1, when you hear that term, that essentially means you went to a website, a book was turned digitally, put on a website, and now you can read that book. That's Web 1. And that's the revolution that gave us Amazon and Yahoo and Alta Vista and, all of these names that you don't even remember anymore and have changed in a way. Then came Web 2. Web 2 was an evolution of Web 1, which essentially meant that this book that you're looking at, you can now interact with. Think Facebook, right? Facebook works because we're interacting with Facebook. Instagram works because we upload content on Instagram. And this is what Web 2 gave us. Now, Web 3 is the next evolution of this, which is essentially the internet of transactions. So Web 1 connected us to all of our information. Web 2 allowed us to start interacting and transacting with this information. Web 3 is now going to connect us to all of these transactions and create a mesh around the world where every transaction that I do can, in a future utopian world, be connected to the transaction that I did before. So Web 1, the internet of reading. Web 2, the internet of interaction. Web 3, the internet of value, where now I can send billions of dollars over the internet, not using any other technology other than the internet, and obviously blockchain built on top of that, to send value, something that is unprecedented in technology history. And that's why I believe it's so massive.
And that's all done with blockchain and these digital ledgers that are something that we try to teach about through these courses I send inside. We just today get to hear from a master who could simplify it in just a few minutes, tell us the difference between Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. I'm going to ask him to educate us a little bit more on another concept, which is the layers, because we're hearing now a lot about layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and perhaps you could help our audience understand what that means in the blockchain world.
Yes, and maybe just before we go there, when you think of blockchain, don't think of this as something complicated. Blockchain essentially takes the element that we have in the world that we are in today already, but now digitizes them and does this more securely, right? So in the normal world, we have a contract. In the normal world, we have assets. In the normal world, we have ledgers, right? Remember these big books? Think of a hotel check-in or a motel check-in. Think of a shop where you bought something. These are all ledgers. There's assets. There's contracts, right? And what blockchain essentially does, it's taking all of these traditional elements, which is why, I've argued with people of how revolutionary it is. It's taking all of these traditional elements of a ledger, of a contract, of an asset, and it's moving it into a cryptographically digital form that is secure, tamper-proof, and easier to operate than anything else that we know. So blockchain takes a contract and turns it into a smart contract, which essentially said you take the code, and that code is the business laws and regulations. Think of me and Michael buying and selling a car. If me and Michael agree to the sale of the car, then upload everything else, right? So that's the smart contract. It takes the ledger that historically is hidden away with every single entity, right? No one opens up their ledger to the world, but it takes that ledger and makes it a shared ledger across the value network, right? And it takes that asset and it creates a digital representation of that asset, which essentially then allows you to interact with this asset, send it across borders, right? And the opportunities are really endless with this.
Yeah, so that really changes things from single, and I'll just talk about Bitcoin besides all of the other cryptocurrencies. I'll talk about Bitcoin as being a store of value, whereas now there is a lot more utility, as he said, with smart contracts. So
yeah, and now on the smart contract. So our audience or maybe someone that's listening to this will have heard about something called a layer 1, a layer 2, a layer 2 on Bitcoin, a layer 3. What are those layers? So layer 1 is really that smart contract platform layer, right? That's where smart contracts are operating on. When you're thinking layer 1, think Bitcoin, think Ethereum, think the Ripple ledger, think Litecoin. These are essentially layer 1 blockchains that function all using a shared ledger, a cryptographic proof, consensus, smart contracts, and privacy. They all function in the same way, but a different way. Think of them as different brands of cars, right? So you have an Audi, you have a Mercedes, you have a Dodge, you have a Chevrolet. Each one of them is a car, 4 wheels, but each one of them does it differently. In this way, I want you to think about the different layer 1 platforms. Now, these layer 1 platforms, like you said, Bitcoin was published, the white paper was published in 2008. The network went live in 2009. So this has been around for a while. So the technology needed to start to improve. But you can't just replace this layer down here where billions of dollars are moving on, right? You need to then provide efficiency solutions. And that's where layer 2 is good. Layer 2 is essentially where we're built on top of these layer 1s to solve for some of the efficiency challenges. So for example, with Bitcoin, every block is finalized every 10 minutes. Now, if you think about running global trade and there being a 10-minute lag, again, it's funny because, we accept 2 to 3 days of a lag, even sometimes up to a week of a lag. But in our head, we want everything to happen instantly. So with that, Bitcoin needed to improve in its efficiency. So layer 2, people started building layer 2s on Bitcoin, essentially connecting that layer over here, which then becomes more efficient, faster, cheaper to operate to that original chain. That's the layer 2. And layer 3s, in many ways, are specific niche applications. Think of trade, think of banking, that will then go specifically to those, connecting to the different layers. And then on top of those layers, you can then build applications or dApps, what is referred to as decentralized applications, to actually harness the power of it. There was a lot of terminology thrown out there. Forget about that for a second. What you essentially need to take away is there is this layer where you can transact upon. There's multiple other layers that were specifically created for particular use cases. And if you ask me, many of these layers have huge pockets of value that you and me can tap into.
And there's enormous opportunities for people who just educate themselves on these different concepts. There are opportunities to go to work as ambassadors of the message. There are opportunities to help businesses that are still very skeptical or don't understand how this new system of business is working, and teach them. For anybody who improves their vocabulary, invests time to learn, there will be opportunities to create an income stream. And that's why I feel so passionately about sharing this message with others. In fact, there's a new movement that I would like you to talk a little bit about, which is the tokenization of real world assets. and what kind of opportunities you see opening up. So if you could explain what that means to people and what opportunities are going to open and how big of a market this will be in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
So the numbers are in the trillions of dollars. Let's start there. When we talk about how big that market can be, because no one can imagine. I mean, who could have imagined that on the internet, I can, I don't know, get anything delivered within minutes? Who could have imagined that when we started talking about the internet in 1996? I really believe that this is a similar kind of revolution heading our way as a revolution that we've seen with the internet, with mobile phones, with, us being able, you're sitting in California right now, I'm in Dubai, but we're speaking real time using the internet. Could someone have imagined that, maybe the opportunities really are endless. And that's, I feel similarly passionate about this, Michael. And that's why I talk to people about this. That's why I'm here with you guys today, because I really, first of all, I'm self-taught completely. I've never gone to university, learned anything about blockchain, right? Done a lot of online courses, I've done a lot of experience. I read every single book out there in the beginning and there weren't many, there were like a handful, if anything. But really I believe and I built an entire career out of it. So in many ways, what I do today had little to nothing to do with the stuff that I was doing 10 years ago, 15 years ago at IBM, whereas implementing SAP systems and being a project manager, right? It's a very different world. And I tapped into this benefit. And I'd love for someone listening to this to tap into this benefit as well, because yes, I've been in this industry for 10 years, but no, I have nothing on you. I have a bit of stories to tell, a good experience, maybe businesses that we've built in this space. But if you're starting off today, you're much more posed for success than I was 10 years ago. Today, there's a wide scale adoption. Today in the US, the climate is changing on the topic. Trump is super pro crypto, implementing an entire governance system that is supporting all of this. And the opportunity really has only begun. And I don't think that we are, in 2015, I was on stage saying 2 years from now, everything's going to be on blockchain. And hasn't happened, right? We're still early days. And I really believe that anyone that's educating themselves to become, you don't need to become a developer. You can be an analyst. You can be someone that understands this. You can be someone that maybe, Michael, for example, you mentioned you're in real estate. Understand how real estate will get impacted. And in many ways, it's about what you ask, which is real world asset tokenization, right? And now I want you to think about this. So the most valuable thing that the majority of people own, maybe not our friends listening to this, but the majority of the world own their house. And their house is the most valuable thing that they have in life, right? Many ways, it's where half of and many times where half, maybe even more of your salary goes on a monthly basis, if it's towards a mortgage or if you bought this house out or whichever way. But now think about what you can do with that house. Yeah, of course, you can live with it. You live in it. You can have a family in it. Of course, I don't want to beat that, but as a financial instrument, that $300,000, $500,000, $1 million, for all intents and purposes, is locked away until I sell the house. Why is that? Why do we accept that as being the norm? We live in the 21st century. Pretty much nothing that we do today as a day-to-day activity is something that we were doing before. But still, the way we own houses today, or we own any property, think of, I don't know, if you have diamonds at home, or gold, or think of your furniture. Make it much simpler. Why is the value of your furniture locked away in your furniture? Maybe someone wants to rent back that furniture to use. And what real-world asset tokenization does, or sorry, maybe differently, what crypto and blockchain did for us is to create a platform where we can digitally move assets around without them being able to be copied. Let's dwell on that for a second. And that's something called double spend. if I take a picture of me and my family and I send it to you, how do I know that that picture came from me and not from you? Because now you have a copy and I have a copy, and we'd have to take a scientific method to arrive at the fact which one is the original, which one is the copy. With Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, in many ways, this was the revolution that it came with. It solved that digital double spend problem. It solved that issue that when I send you something over the internet, I lose the right to it, or there's no traceability towards it. So the Bitcoin that I sent from me to you is not in a way that we are sending an email attachment or a picture on WhatsApp. The Bitcoin that I sent to you is transferred to you digitally, and I don't own that anymore. Now take that concept about you taking your house and being able to transfer it digitally, taking your car and transferring it digitally, taking a piece of land and transferring it digitally. And I'm not up to date on the exact numbers, but the opportunity is in the trillions of dollars, not billions of dollars.
I had a conversation with a guy who is he's built a business advising contractors, people who put plumbing systems in, electrical systems in, utility systems in. And these are people that started with, a shovel and a ladder and a pickup truck, and they've built a business that is doing $4, $5, $6 million, $10 million a year in annual revenues. But these people have matured now. Now they're 60, 65, and they're wanting to move on with their life. But what they have found is it's very difficult for them to liquidate those assets. And I was telling him I was going to have a conversation with you because I thought, well, this is because he's advising these people now and putting them with private equity here in the United States that want to, bundle 20 different contractors to get a $100 million company. And I said, you need to learn about tokenization of real world assets, because if you could put those in a package, you could divide it into 1,000 shares, 100,000 shares, and sell it to people in Dubai, in Africa, in India, anywhere in the world. And I said, if you become a leader in that space, there's an enormous opportunity. Is that something that's possible if I own a company? And because I'm speaking about what I've kind of overheard, but now I'm speaking with an expert. I own a company. It's doing 10 million a year. It's got quite a quantity of capital instruments, backhoes and tractors and trucks and this and that. I can't sell them on the open market, but together it's more valuable than breaking it apart. The key will be selling it in tokens to people all over the world. Is that something that's possible to do today with the blockchain technology?
Technically, practically, we're not there yet. But technically, that's possible. Technically, I can take that company and I can tokenize it and I can create a structure around it, and I can have people participate in the upside wherever they are. Practically, this market is so nascent yet that there isn't much liquidity in it yet. So real estate, for example, is a good example, is where the majority of real-world asset tokenization is going right now. But that's because real estate is a multi-trillion-dollar market globally to begin with, right? Private equity isn't, right? You and me maybe are the type of people that will sit down with someone, see if they have a good business, and then wanting to participate in it. But, if you go and pitch this to the rest of the world, people are more interested in saving and stores of value and, buying property than they would be to buy a company. And that's what, technologically speaking, and from a regulatory point of view, this is possible. But people that have done this, and, my partner as early as 2018, in collaboration with another partner of it, they tokenized the cattle ranch in Bolivia through a structure in Switzerland, allowing you as the investor into the structure in Switzerland to tap into the benefit of those dairy cows in Bolivia, which is a great business and a business that's old as time, right? But the matter of the fact is, it was sold out, and then you could own that token. But then when you sell on that token, who's going to buy it, right?
Yeah, I think we're too early in this whole evolutionary stage. But with this concept of smart contracts, all of these things are possibilities in the years and decades ahead. But it sounds like real estate, you said, is more evolved. And this is something that's happening today in your country and probably around the world. Is that something you're seeing?
Yeah, so as early as 2018, not to take this out of the US, in Aspen, the St. Regis was tokenized, and the hotel was tokenized, and they sold tokens of that St. Regis in Aspen. I remember that because it was one of the first, wide-scale use cases for real estate tokenization. And that token is still giving you benefits and still giving you a dividend, right? So we're seeing real estate. Why, and again, why real estate? Because real estate in itself is a $1 trillion industry. It's moving with or without blockchain. Now it's looking to blockchain and crypto to provide more efficiency in that process. Similarly, when you talk about remittances, try sending money from A to B. Western Union will tell you it arrives instantaneously. But when you look behind the scene, it can take up to 10 days for that transaction to actually move from A to B. What happens is that they have a book over here and they have a book over here and they receive the money over here and they just pay it out over there. But until the money actually settles, I mean, we don't care about that as consumers, but until the money settles, more than 10 days can pass, and it's standard cross-border interaction. With crypto, again, you can do that instantaneously. It's opening itself to a whole new world of possibilities, and it's endless. Think about, we hear about this from farm to fork. Well, how do you show that something came from farm to fork? How do you prove that something came from farm to fork? Well, you need blockchain. We talked about an issue with counterfeit everything, right? How do you prove that something has been issued at a particular place, transported by a particular entity, stored by a particular warehouse, received by a particular shop, and sold to you? Blockchain. Think about your healthcare data and how fragmented that is. How many doctors have you visited in your life? Where is all of that data sitting? Why do you not have access to it? Why can I not see my blood work from when I was a child all the way to now? The technology platform doesn't exist. Blockchain, again, provides us with that technology platform. Think about global trade. Think about how more than 80% of the global GDP moves through ships and containers. And think about these bills of ladings and packing lists and invoices that you need for that. And think about how much of a paper and complicated, heavy process that is. Now think about blockchain being used to this. Now, this might sound like a super rosy picture. And yes, I've been painting that super rosy picture for the past 10 years and still we're not there. Having said that, the opportunity is still real. And it's more real today than it was 10 years ago.
Earlier in the conversation, you spoke about the, I guess, the forward-thinking, disruptive mindset of developing new technologies in Silicon Valley 20, 30, 40 years ago during the era of Steve Jobs and, very early. You have a role there now in Dubai when these companies want to come to your country. Could you talk a little bit about your role in what you do professionally now?
Sure, maybe that's something where we should have started. But
No, it's wonderful that I love them hearing about your expertise, but I want the people to hear we're talking with somebody who has a real role in the development of this next generation of technology.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that, and it's something that I wear on my vest and very proudly on my chest. We helped more than 600 companies move to the UAE in partnership with the government. We created the first blockchain ecosystem in the region, invested in probably 100 of those companies. We started an initiative in partnership with the likes of Siemens and BMW and BIA, which is the largest local recycler, called the Green Block, where we focused on the ESG and AI element of all of this. We started an artist collective called Art Media, a new media collective called Art, where we hosted more than 150 events in 1 year to actually help people come closer to this. And probably for the past 10 years, my message is not unlike the message I'm here to give to your audience, is that this is an opportunity that none of us should miss. Maybe we don't all want to invest into. I'm not telling anyone to go and take their life savings and put them in crypto, but this is something you should read about. This is something you should get educated about. This is something you should build your own point of view about. And this is something that I'm a living testament to. If you develop expertise and you provide value to this ecosystem, you can make a living out of this as well when educating yourself. And again, I've now said this so many times, where do you start? You start with YouTube videos, you start with books, you start with, blogs, you start with smart people like Michael and the ecosystem around him to find out where and what to learn about. There's automated tools that can help you enhance your income or improve your income. Stay away from the gambling element of it, right? That's one thing. You hear about people doing 1,000x and investing $100 and getting $1,000 out. Yeah, but you know what? When you look at the numbers, that's maybe 2 or 3% of the crypto population. The other 98% end up losing money. Go after, go focus on the long-term stores of value like Bitcoin, like Ethereum.
And be a believer. I mean, you were a believer when you started in 2014, 15. I think I watched one of your earlier videos that said that you moved in and started acquiring when it was still around $400, $500, $600 a coin.
Yeah.
And you've been a believer of holding it for generations.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to build generational wealth, right? It's the easiest way that I can pass on to my son 50 years from now to tell him, hey, look, this is what I built on your behalf. And again, when you're thinking about, I don't want to scare people away by saying that own one coin. Don't own one. Own $10 of a coin. Own $10 worth of Bitcoin. Or own $5 worth of Bitcoin, right? Get exposed to this. Touch it, feel it. And I really believe in the generational opportunity here. I think it's on us to create that value, maybe for my children to tap into that value.
And that's that is wonderful advice for people in our audience. Just remember that there's always more opportunities in the future than there were in the past. And I hope that you will just find some hope in the fact that I got to speak with somebody who is a true ambassador of this message of bringing world adoption of blockchain and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and Web3. I'm so privileged to know you, and I'm so grateful to you for sharing your wisdom with our audience. I just really want to thank you. I mean, it means the world to me that I get to share this with a million people in jails and prisons across America. But I want you to see is you've just got to be willing to reach out, and you'll find that when you're reaching out to people, people embrace you with open arms, and he's taken the time to give us an hour of his time. And on behalf of our entire community, Saqr, Ereiqat, I just want to thank you. Ereiqat?
Ereiqat. Yeah, I was fascinated by your mission. I believe in education over everything. I think knowledge is power. And, if you're locked away somewhere, the best thing to do is to pick up a book and to educate yourself in whatever it is. Education is freedom. Education is power. Knowledge is power. And I'm really grateful and humbled by the fact that I can be part of this journey, because I really believe that through education, you can set yourself free. And, in many ways, everything that I did in blockchain is a testament to that. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak to your audience and sharing that message.
You gave us a lot of wisdom today, including resources that I will share, such as courses he described at MIT and Harvard. I'm going to look for those courses and try to put them in my own words and bring them into prisons. He mentioned also many other information that I can use. Maybe you have a couple of book recommendations that I can bring into our community that you might recommend for beginners. Are there?
Yeah, so I think Scott and his son, I think it was called The Blockchain Revolution, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I read that. Saifedean Al-Ammous is someone that everyone should have read. He wrote a book called The Bitcoin Standard, most recently now the Gold Standard, where essentially he talks about the demise of money and how, if you're saving $1, you're already losing money, right? So those are two really, really good books. On top of that, I would recommend that, we give people, if possible, access to the World Economic Forum blockchain toolkit. And then on my LinkedIn, Michael, when you're doing the summary of that, you'll find all of these videos and courses that I've referenced on an article on LinkedIn, because I firmly believe that, one can just go and tap into this. And there's free books out there. So, it really starts with you right now. If you're listening to this, if you believe that this is an opportunity for you, go pick up that book. If you don't have access to a Bitcoin book, that's fine as well. Read about the digital economy and how that digital economy is advancing the world, because what we maybe haven't touched upon is that blockchain is just one element of the story. But, there's IoT and there's cloud computing and there's artificial intelligence. It's a whole myriad of technologies where blockchain, I believe, will be the foundational transactional layer. But it doesn't need to be, your journey doesn't need to start with blockchain. It can start with the basics of computing. It can start with the digital economy. It can start with e-commerce. It can start with what is Web 1, what is Web 2, what is Web 3. Because I understand that maybe the resources might be limited that you have access to. But educate yourself in this. This isn't going away.
I'll do my best to bring those messages into as many people as possible. I just want to thank you again. You are now a prison professor.
Yes. New achievement unlocked. Thank you for that, Michael. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Let me stop the recording. I'm so grateful to you.
No, I'm grateful to you. This was so much fun. And, this is really something that is a passion of mine.
Do you have are you on Twitter?
Yeah, it's DX blockchain. But I'm not really,
You're not active on Twitter?
Not much, though.
You mentioned the prince. What is his, again, his Twitter, do you know?
Who?
The prince that you'd mentioned. You said that he was very...
Wait, I'll
well, you can send it to me in a text or something through WhatsApp if you find it.
Yeah.
Are you
visionary?
Are you coming to the U.S. anytime soon?
I have a big problem with the last time I came to the U.S., they held me for 7 hours at the airport. So I'm not coming to the U.S. anytime.
That's the same message CZ has. They held him a little longer.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's no, not anytime soon. But we're always waiting here with open arms, Mike.
Well, I'm coming there, so I gotta find a conference that'll make sense for me to come. I told my wife I wanted to bring her there. I fell in love with it. I'm really right now. I'm actually in the midst of selling my house. It's an escrow right now. They go hard on Tuesday, so tomorrow, which is going to allow me to buy more Bitcoin. I'm so excited about this. I'm going to be writing about it and building this whole machine. I'm saying if a guy in prison can learn and teach, anybody can.
I agree. And I love that message behind it. And by the way, what you're doing right now, I did in 2019. So, and I haven't regretted that. Well yeah, how's it?
Yeah, way to learn.
Between you and me, I can say that. I wouldn't say that to a wide audience. But yeah, sell houses, buy Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, I'm very bullish.
Your house has a certain trajectory in the bestest cases of scenario. The Bitcoin.
There was no way. I said, God, I made quite a bit of money in profit since I bought the house and remodeled it. And I said, there's no way I'm going to get the return over the next 5 years in real estate as I will in Bitcoin.
Done.
So anyway, I've taken a lot of your time, and I just want to thank you again.
Well, I don't know. It's a pleasure. Wait, someone joined here. True. Well, hi, Michael.
Look at that young man.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Who's that? That's so beautiful. I'm so happy for you. He's such a cute little boy. How old is he?
Very cute. Yeah. So he's 3. I have a 5-year-old downstairs and a 1.5-year-old.
And do you have a brother or somebody?
You have a brother? Yeah. Have you met him?
No, but I saw on LinkedIn because I was doing all kinds of research and I came across another person who's kind of active in the space as well.
Yeah, I told him, and he's my younger brother. And now most recently my sister as well.
Well,
little Baila.
Okay, well, thank you so much again. I really want to stay.
Oh, thank you. It was an
stay in touch with you. Is there a particular conference that you would recommend I prepare to come to?
Well, look, there's the Satoshi Roundtable. The downside of the Satoshi Roundtable is that it's very expensive. And when I say very expensive, we're talking $10,000 and invites only.
Yeah.
You know, but also totally worth it, unfortunately. So if you can spare it, and I'm still not 100% sure if I'll make it there this year because it is a major investment. But it's the leaders of the world of crypto in one.
Uh-huh. And where is that?
So
Abu Dhabi
you
or
wouldn't
Dubai?
Dubai.
When is
It's been held in Dubai for the past, but it's the oldest and longest standing Bitcoin conference in the world. It's been running since 2014.
So CZ will be going to that for sure then.
CZ is always there, yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be going?
To be honest, I'm still fighting with myself if I want to do that investment right now.
Where is it?
And it's so the setup is they closed down the Waldorf Astoria on the Palm, and when I say they closed down, they take out the entire hotel, and the normal people are replaced with crypto people. And again, it's not the type of so you would not be able to buy a ticket online. You need to get some approval code, some invitation code, and I'd be more than happy to connect you to those guys. But yeah, so the benefit is if there was one conference you want to go to in a whole year, and not go to anything else, it's the Satoshi Round. Because you have the biggest names of crypto. Think about what we had in Gabriel's house, but now expanded by the Waldorf Astoria, right? And essentially you being able to host people from all around the world. These are really the biggest names in crypto. But also even me, and I've gone to this conference now 4 or 5 times. I'm considering, for me, it's now, I'm not too sure about the ROI anymore, just because of the amount of times I've been there, and it's the same people generally. For someone like you who's still, navigating the space, it's a great place where you can cut through the bullshit because no one at the Satoshi Brown table is there by chance.
Uh-huh.
So no one picked up the phone and said, "Hey, I want to go to the Satoshi Round table." Everyone is.
What month is it? Is it going to be held?
It's in February.
Oh, it's in a couple months only.
Yeah.
CC's in Japan.
I'm not actively in touch. So we have dinners together. I see him regularly, but I'm not actively in touch. I don't know where he is. What is he doing in Japan?
I talked to his sister. They're all going to Japan for Christmas for the holiday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I really just want to say it was a thrill of my life to meet you, and I look forward to seeing you.
Oh, the thrill is mine.
When I'm getting over there, but I will definitely return, and it'll be for a conference.
Well, you're still good at staying in touch, so we'll stay in touch.
I like that. I'm also staying in touch with Juan Carlos from El Salvador.
He's a great guy. Please give him my regards next time we speak to him.
I will. Okay. God bless.
God bless you. Merry Christmas. Get into the new year well, and I hope that 2025 will be a great year.
It's going to be a great year, and I'm going to be sharing it with you with links to my stuff.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Michael.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.